Keep forgetting. Yo, what's up, guys? Skorch the Fears, episode 32. I'm pretty sure. I'm not even sure anymore, bro. We've been doing this for a while. We got the amazing Daryl Ellison on here. He's an absolute beast. I am just starting off the YouTube or the Instagram live as well, and somehow pinning the comment. How you been, bro? What's life?
Been amazing, brother. How are you?
I'm doing good, dude. And there we go. All right, it's pinned now. So now people can actually go on to where it's cool, which is on here on YouTube. So, all right, we're good there. So, bro, you are the most famous sub 2 student that I don't know at all. I was telling you this beforehand, but like I love seeing you. I love watching your content every now and then, but I'm just like, man, like I haven't actually like had a conversation with this guy.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Sorry, but like when we met up at Clever, it was like we were already homies. Like we already had like a bunch of conversations.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I know this guy. I like fist bump you. I'm like, yo, dude, what's up, bro? So you run 1,000 Zooms. So real quick, explain to the audience, for those who don't know you, who you are, what you're doing, just like what's your business, like stuff like that, like
so
intro stuff.
So I'm Daryl Ellison. I got into real estate about 2 years ago now. I guess we'll go into the story of how I got in, but right now where I'm at is I have a team, I have acquisitions team where we're helping people nationwide, helping a lot of sub 2 students actually close deals, whether it's creative, cash, whatever. Reaching out to them, doing a lot of free lead generation. I go into like other mentorships and stuff like that and show them creative finance and have them send me their dead leads and stuff like that. So I do a lot of JVing, a lot of working with other wholesalers, with other investors. And I'm currently on a mission scaling my business. And I changed it, bro. I was gonna text you guys, but it was originally 10 deals a month. But I was talking to Don Rich and I got to up it. So I got to up it to 20 deals a month.
Let's go. That's sick.
That's what we're aiming for right now.
I'm loving it. So, okay. So basically JVing dead leads, right? Like that's like what you're doing right now, like helping people with other creative stuff.
And, it's not even dead leads all the time, right? Like I have people who send me leads who maybe they're just integrators, right? And they just don't want to talk on the phone and they don't have a partner. They don't have a set up, right? So they generate a whole lot of leads and they don't have anybody to call them, right? That's where I come in. I have lead managers, I have closers, and we're calling all day, every day. Like I just got out of a Zoom right before I came in here with my team. They're in there making calls. They've been in there since 8 o'clock this morning.
Right? I love it. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I love it so much. Yo, so, okay, let's start it off. I'm going to ask you the Steve Trang question. How did you get into real estate?
So it's crazy. It's actually a crazy story. So it started about a year or two after college.
How old are you, bro?
25.
Nice, dude.
25. So this is all recent. Like, so my mother, she lives here in Arizona, right? I just moved out here a couple weeks ago. I was living in Maryland at the time.
You live in Phoenix now?
I do.
Everyone does. It's just everybody's moving to Phoenix, bro.
That's a really cool story. I thought you knew that, but really cool.
I think I might have seen an Instagram photo or something, but it's just so funny.
I haven't really like announced it much, like on like my social media stuff. I said things on like podcasts, so like if you watch like my like my shows on YouTube and stuff like that, then you would know. But I really haven't said much about it. But so Logan Manzanares and Katie Manzanares, shout out to them. They bought a house out here that they have as an Airbnb. And they're like, I told them I was moving at the time, and they're like, well, why don't you move to Arizona? I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, well, we have an ADU in the backyard. Why don't you stay there?
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So I'm like, yeah, heck yeah. We ended up talking about a couple of things. They wanted to make more than that in the ADU that I wanted to pay. And he's like, well, would you live in an RV? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, sure. Yeah. And they're like, all right, cool. So like a week later, they put me in a group chat. They text me a picture. They say, hey, Daryl, we just bought you a house. And they send a picture of this decked out RV, bro. It's like
damn nice.
Crazy. It has everything I need in there. And
I love it.
Yeah, and it's attached to the property, and I'm like helping manage the Airbnb and stuff, and that's
lit.
Yeah, I'm not there right now, obviously, but
where are you? Are you in Maryland? Where are you right
now?
now?
I'm at my mom's house. She lives out here.
Okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so 2 years after college, this was around like 20. Yeah, it's around 2020. Right when I first started.
Real quick, since you're so young, like I'm curious, like what like got I want to know a little bit before that actually. So like you graduated college, then what were you doing for the 2 years after that?
I was working in a lab.
Okay.
I was working in a lab. I went to school for biology, so I was actually this time I was actually working in a COVID lab.
A COVID lab?
Yeah, I was working in a COVID lab.
Creating COVID, dude? Were you in China? I'm just kidding.
Yeah. We were actually testing so there's a lot of football teams in the area, the Redskins, the Ravens, and a lot of those East Coast NFL teams would send like their COVID samples to us, and we would test them, see if they had COVID or not, and then just send it back. Right. So I was working there, and I hated that shit. Sorry if I can't curse, but I hated it. Like I was, and this is kind of, I was working at another spot before that. Before I learned real estate, I was working at a sneaker store.
Okay.
And I was working some security at like a dispensary and stuff like that. Like I wasn't doing too much. I was making decent money, but bro, I was addicted to playing the game. I was addicted to video games, bro. Like I would literally wake up, play video games, smoke some weed.
You mean literally video games? Okay.
Yeah, like literally play video games like Madden and what else was I playing? Like Fortnite, like stuff like that.
Did you play football in high school, college?
Yeah.
I was about to say you look like a football player, bro. You're huge.
Yeah, I played football. And that was the thing, right? Like I thought I was going to the NFL, and I'm not the type of person to have a plan B. Like I hate backup plans. Like I'm going all in on whatever I like to do. I'm going all in on it. So like, anyone ask me, like literally, bro, people were asking me what I went to school for. I would literally tell them football. Like I would say I'm here for football. Like
you played college?
Yeah, I played in college.
Nice.
Hell yeah. Division II. But still like good competition. We
still good.
Yeah, it was good. But like still like I'm going to the NFL. Even when I really didn't, like I really knew that I wasn't going at one point. I kept getting hurt. I'm like, I'm here for football, right? Like I'm going until somebody tells me I'm not going. But but yeah, so it started there. So like 1.5, 2 years after school, I really wasn't doing much, bro. Like I was just in a cycle. I was drifting, right? I was just doing the same thing every day over and over and over. Going to work, waking up, playing the game, coming home, playing the game, going to sleep, waking up. Like same thing over and over. I had moved into this house with a couple of my old teammates. One of them was a real estate agent, right? So I was learning like here and there from things that he was doing, kind of like just eavesdropping and just hearing some things here and there. I always wanted to get into it, but just never. I always felt like I couldn't get into it for whatever reason, right? And then,
what do you think that reason was?
I was just thinking that I don't know. I don't think I really believed in myself, honestly, because I've never done anything other than football, really. Like, sports, right? So like, it was kind of a weird time in my life where I was like, I really don't know what to do. Like, I was actually talking to one of my friends about that before. It's like, I had my one coach that told me like, don't. I hope you don't feel like you're lost without the sport. Like after I was done and stuff, after I graduated, he asked me like, he's like, do you still like know yourself? Like, do you know your purpose and stuff like that? And I told him, I was like, at this point, I really don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's one hell of a question to ask like a 22 or 23-year-old. It's like, bro, what do you even mean? Do you know your purpose?
Exactly.
Like, what are you doing, bro? Like you're the coach here.
Exactly. And this is like, he was just trying to, I see where he was coming from though. He's trying to just make sure that like I was good, right? Like I wasn't just like,
you're gonna be tripping.
Yeah, not even just tripping, but just become a bum, right? Because since football is over, right? Like that's all I had was football, and that was like my identity, right? Like you see Daryl, you think football player, right? Like every day I was either in the weight room or in the office, like on the board and stuff, watching film or at practice, right? Like that was it.
That's what you were dedicated to. I got you.
Exactly. So he just wanted to make sure like I wasn't just like lost, like just out here just losing my mind, just not doing anything.
Right.
So, and I kind of was at one point, right? Like I'm working, like I knew I had to work, and I've always worked hard. But it's like I had no sense of direction. Right?
What made you feel like you were so dedicated to the game? Like it's like football. Like why? Like I'm just curious. Like what made you so dedicated? Were you like in the room, constantly lifting, constantly trying to make it happen?
That's just like that's just who I am, bro. Like I was talking to Preston about this, right? And it's like when I really like I have a really addictive personality, right? So it's like when I like something, I'm gonna keep doing it until I get the best results that I could possibly get to, right? So like for instance, that's why I was playing the game so heavy as well. Like that's what happened when I stopped playing football. I started playing the game and I'm like, dang, this is fun. I really like this.
Video games.
I just kept playing video games. But my whole life, like it's been football, right? So I'm like, I need to do everything I need to do to become the best possible version of myself in the sport. All right. So that's what I did. Like it's all I knew was train, watch film, train. Like I had a lot of relationships that went left because I was like completely dedicated to football. Right. So it's just honestly, it's just like my dad would always as well. Like we would wake up when I was younger, like we would wake up every morning and go work out type of thing. Like,
oh, nice.
He drilled.
Did he encourage you to do football?
Right. Yeah, he used to play, so he would like drill hard work into me, right? So I would have to work hard. And he was like always hard on me, right? So that's why I'm really hard on myself as well a lot of times, which is like isn't that good, right? I shouldn't be as hard on myself. But that's just what it is, right? Like my whole life it was just one thing, right? That's all I knew was just work.
How you become successful, bro. I mean, it is still even, I don't know, I think you said D2, but still D2 at a college playing college football, like that's still freaking impressive, bro.
Yeah.
Like that means you're pretty freaking good. And like, bro, you're crushing it in real estate. So it's 100% working. Like I got you.
And another thing, bro, I'm really naturally, I'm just really competitive, right?
Yeah.
So like everything I do, I try to make it a competition, right? So like,
I love it.
Going to the weight room and stuff, like there was a lot of people who didn't like to work out with me because I would make them work, like because I'm gonna sit there and I'm gonna talk shit to the point where you're gonna want to work out.
I kind of want to work out with you, dude. That's really fun.
Right.
I love it when people talk shit. It's like, bro, what are you doing, dude?
Exactly.
What the hell? Is this the first time you ever done a chest press before, bro? Like, what is this?
Exactly.
Talking bad shit. I like it. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro. And I feel like that's a thing that like all entrepreneurs have. Like I have it for sure. Like I got a business coach and I constantly talk to him about like how we're always super hard on ourselves, right? Like constantly like, yo, we got this big deal, but like, God damn, we got to get more, bro. We got to like keep pushing. It's like also got to remember to take a moment and be like, damn, look at what I've accomplished. Let me just take a moment and be like, this is freaking crazy. Like what I've done, what I've been able to do. So, and I already know you're killing it. So 100%, I want to give kudos to you just for that. Okay. Football, biology, and video games. And then you were saying your realtor friend you played video games with or was roommates with?
We were roommates, right? So we all played football on the same team at one point, and we all moved into a house together, right? It was a big 4-bedroom house that we lived in, and we just not really house hacking, but we just rented out together, rent the rooms out. So he was constantly working real estate stuff, and I mean I wasn't that interested in it until like I was always interested, but not like interested to the point where I wanted to learn every single part of it and actually be in the business, right? But it came to a point where, so my mom, remember, she lives out here in Arizona. I'm originally from Pennsylvania, right? So I'm still on the East Coast. She's on the West Coast, and she has a property that I grew up in, the house I grew up in, honestly. She was renting it out to somebody. And that person ended up being he ended up getting on the run. He was on the run from the cops. Like it was a crazy situation. She still had a mortgage on that property and he stopped paying her rent. Right. So she couldn't afford to make the payments. Right. She wasn't in like pre-foreclosure or anything like that. She was keeping up the payments on herself, but it was like to get to a point where she's like, I can't keep doing this. Right. So I'm like, dang, let me figure out what I can do. right? So
this is before you're in real estate.
This is before I'm in real estate. I know a little bit. I know what wholesaling is, but I don't really know
that much about it.
Is, right? Like I couldn't like explain what a wholesale deal was, but I just knew what it was. Right. So me and the boy who I was living with, we ended up trying to buy the house. We were trying to do something weird. Where it wasn't really weird, but we were trying to get somebody else to qualify for the loan for us.
Oh, interesting.
And then he was going to partner with us. He was going to partner with us on the deal, and then we were going to own it and make it a rental. But me and this guy ended up having a falling out, right? Like in the middle of the deal. He tried to sell the deal without me and stuff. And I'm like, it's my mom's house, bro. Like, why would she ever sign?
Yeah, what are you trying to do?
Like, right. So I'm like, okay, I'll just figure this out myself. Right. So I just get on YouTube, and bro, I just become addicted, bro. Like I'm watching video after video.
What do you think caused that? Like, why do you think you watched one video of somebody? Who was it? What do you think? Do you remember the first video?
It was Max Maxwell.
I had a feeling my first one was also Max Maxwell.
Yeah.
But like, why? What about it? Like, why did you get addicted all of a sudden?
Well, I got addicted because this is what I had to do, right? Like my mom was dependent on me, and I told her I can do something. So now I gotta figure it out. All right, I got to do it. And that becomes like, as I tell my story, like that becomes like a constant like message in my story. It's like, you got to figure it out. You got to figure it out, or some bad's going to happen. Right.
Right.
But you got to figure this out. Right. So, I figured it out. So what I was doing was I'm watching the video. I'm like, okay, this is what I do next. I went and did it. Right. And I ran into another problem. Go back to the video. Okay, this is what I do. Went back and did it. Right. So it's like I'm not the type to sit there and like watch every single video, then take action. I take the action, and then I figured out like I'll do it at the same time. Like I still haven't gone through all of the trainings and stuff too. Like because I just yeah, the modules. I still
for some reason is like, yo, don't even watch the modules. I'm like, all right, bro.
Yeah. Like I still haven't, bro.
That's funny. I'm the type of person who always watches modules.
Right.
I'm like, that's just personally. I'm like, I go back to it, but
right.
Y'all are crazy. Just doing it without the modules. Sounds good.
But the reason why I was able to do that is because I was able to connect with some people who are doing the business at a high level. And whenever I had a question, I just asked them. Right. That's what's so important about Sub 2, which is really cool about the community.
Talk about that for a second. Talk about the importance of like being connected to higher level people. Talk about the importance of it, and then talk about what maybe to somebody who isn't in Sub 2 or can't afford it yet, like what your suggestions would be of like how to connect with higher level people,
bro.
In general,
it's super important. Like I tell everybody who is new to go work for somebody. Right. Go work for somebody else and figure out what they're doing, and if it's working, duplicate it. Right. Keep it going. If it doesn't work, figure out what works. Right. So it's super important to be connected with high level people because they've been through it already. Right. They've been through all the struggles. They know. It's like let's bring it back to playing a video game. Right. It's like when you die, right? Say you're doing like a mission, right? And you die and you start over. You already know this guy who just killed you is right here behind this door, right? So you're gonna do something else, right? So it's like somebody who doesn't know that. It's like they're just watching you play the game, right? And they can ask you questions. They have a cheat code pretty much, right? It's like they have you right there saying, "Hey, don't go behind this door because the boogeyman's right there. Click this door," and that's where the prize is at, right? So I look at it like that. I think it's a hack, bro. That's what I use my podcast is to get people on who are doing better than me, who are doing way higher level stuff, so I can learn from them. Right? I can ask them questions, learn from them.
What's your podcast, bro? Let's plug it real quick.
If you just search me on YouTube, it's Daryl Ellison. I do a podcast every Saturday with Mike Gomes. It's called Wholesale Hard Knocks. We actually have. I saw you had Sam Singh on here. We have him this weekend. And then we have Matt Beard next weekend. We have Don Rich last weekend. So yeah, it's awesome. Just search me on Instagram. Daryl Ellison. And
everybody look him up.
Yeah,
he's dope. He's got some dope stuff going on. I like it.
For sure.
Sorry, so keep going. So, okay, it's amazing because you need to connect. So, how does one connect with higher level people? Like, let's say there's a wholesaler or just a real estate investor who's like, man, I really connect with this Daryl guy. How do I make him in my network?
Provide value, right? You see what that person needs in their business. You don't ask them, how can I provide value, right? You see what they're lacking and you bring it to them, right? So like me personally, and I'll tell people what I need. I need leads, right? I need more leads, or I need people on my team who are going to sit here and make calls all day, right? Like that's what provides value to me right now. Like my acquisitions business, I'm still working on like really streamlining that, right? And just you have to be consistent, right? You gotta be extremely consistent, and you got to follow up, right? Like people who are at a higher level, and I'm not saying me at all because I don't really look at myself like that yet, but there's people at a higher level who they're busy, they're freaking busy, right? So if somebody doesn't get back to you, it's not most of the time it's not on purpose, right? It's because they're busy and they forgot, right? So you may have to follow up. You may have to bite the bullet and follow up and double text, triple text sometimes, right? Like that's my number one acquisitions person right now. He's on my team because he was super annoying. Like he would just be annoying, bro. He would bring me problems and just hit me up every single day. And I'm like, yo, just come here. Like just come here and I'll teach you personally. Like, let's go. And that's how it works, right? But I think just bringing value to somebody, yeah, for sure.
I like that, and it's so true. Like for me, like it's so hard when like it's like very hard to like figure out, because like that's the thing is like people always ask first, like what they always like ask first, like what do I want,
right?
I'm gonna put Mike's watching. He's a good friend of ours. He was the guy who we were just talking about. They got a podcast together.
Yep.
Pretty dope stuff. But yeah, man, like I mean, I totally agree. I mean, for me, it is definitely the people that annoy me. It's people that annoy me and are actually bringing me stuff that I want.
Yeah.
Right. Like I got a guy, his name's Angelo, amazing guy, and he's just constantly sending me properties in the Bay Area. And we've JV'd. We've probably done like 4 deals together. And I'm like, man, you are on it. Like you are absolutely on it. I'm loving it. Like
I think we need to clarify though, bro. Like, don't be annoying. Like just saying hi. Like, don't.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be like bringing deals or like making stuff happen. Of course. I mean, like,
you gotta bring.
It's like I've gotten to the point personally because people keep asking me about agents. I'm like, dude, like I can't get on a phone call every single day.
Yep.
Teaching you about agents. I'm actually doing this. This is something I was going to advertise eventually in the sub 2 group. I'm doing an agent course for people. Nice. So that's awesome. How I'm going to do it. I'm like, dude, just come on the Zoom. I'm going to answer everything.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'm getting distracted. Your podcast is about connecting with higher level people. You join, real estate. I'm going to get back to your story. So you found out about real estate. You're selling your mom's house. You look up a video on Max Maxwell.
Yes.
And then keep going.
Look up a video on Max Maxwell. So I'm like, okay, I have a contract, right? I have a contract with my mom. So I got it. I did this completely wrong. Like my first deal, it got to the point where I didn't even want to count this as my first deal. Like I'm like I started counting my second deal as my first deal, but then I'm like,
I love it.
Nah, like I had to have a talk with myself. I'm like, nah, that's I did my first deal. I made some money on it, but I would, for the longest, I'm like, I wasn't counting it, right? So, what I did was I got my mom under contract, made a post in Facebook, in the Facebook group, bro, sold the deal in like an hour after I posted it. And I'm like, and you know when you sell it that fast, it's either a really good deal or you like it's really low, right? Like
it's a really good deal for somebody else.
Right,
I got you.
Right, and my mom, I think she made the fair amount of money that she got, but I think if I would have known what I know now, she would have still been making money on this property.
Yeah.
Right? But it's all a learning lesson, right? So what I did,
lesson, bro.
Yeah, I posted it in the Facebook group. This realtor hit me up and she's like, I can help you out, right? I'm like, all right, cool. So we ended up getting, she was like, I have a buyer for you, blah, blah, blah. We ended up getting under contract with the buyer. We used her contract. We use her title company because I have no clue what the heck I'm doing. I'm like, here, just send it to my mom. Cool. Just make sure I'm on there somewhere. Right. And I signed nothing. My mom signed what she signed was a whole new purchase contract with the realtor. And then she signed, then they sold it to the wholesaler pretty much. I still got paid, but it was because it was my mom. Right. And she helped me out, and she's like, okay, well, this is what we'll give you something here. But that was my first deal. Right. And I'm like, I did that pretty fast. Right. I'm pretty good at this. So might as well keep going. Right. So I'm like, cool. So I used the money all right. So I told you I had a falling out with my roommate. Right. So I skipped a huge part of this. Right. We had a falling out. I moved out. So I'm living with a couple friends right now. I'm pretty much homeless. Right.
This is in Maryland?
This is in Maryland. Right. So like I straight moved out. I found the first friend who would let me stay with them for a little while. I said 2 months max. Right. So I'm living on an air mattress in my boy's living room. And mind you, the air mattress had a hole in it. So
that's not, then you're just sleeping on the floor. What do you mean the air mattress had a hole in it?
Right. It had like a little tiny hole in it, but like it wasn't big enough to where like I was just right on the ground. I wouldn't be on the ground till like the middle of the night. So like,
like you're pretty big, dude. Like, how tall are you?
I'm like 6 foot.
Yeah, like 6 foot, and like, yeah, bro, like, yeah, that thing, that's hilarious.
Yeah, it was crazy, bro. It was crazy. So like, I'm living on an air mattress, right? That thing is slowly losing air. Like I had a bunch of tape on it, glue. Like I couldn't do anything to keep it up, right? So middle of the night, every night I wake up, my back touching the ground, right? So this whole time, again, I'm like, it wasn't just the fact that I had to do it for my mom, right? I had to do it for myself too.
Yeah.
Like I told these guys I'm gonna be here for 2 months, right? And nothing happened, right? So I'm there, 2 months comes. I ended up selling the property, right? I got some money for it, but I left left out the lease, like in the middle of the lease, right? But I talked to my old landlord.
How much money did you get on that first deal?
I got about 6,000 on the first deal.
That's survival money.
Yeah, for sure. But I owed my old landlord about $4,000, $5,000 because I had to pay him for the rest of the lease. Like I had to buy myself out of it. So pretty much all that money went straight to him, right? So I bought myself out the lease. And by now it's my 2 months is up, right? So I asked my guys, I'm like, look, if I start paying you some rent, like, can you guys help me out here for another couple months? They're like, all right, cool. So I'm there. I still have my job, right? But now at this point, I had just enough money to buy myself a list and skip trace a list, right? So I did that. I bought a list of like 1,500 records. And it was like crazy how detailed it was. It was like 70% equity, owned for over 10 years, non-absentee owner. It was like a whole bunch of stuff. Like it was crazy. And I got a lot of deals on that list. I probably got like 5 deals on that list.
Wow, you have 5 deals on that list, bro?
Yeah, it was crazy.
That's crazy.
It was crazy.
Really good, especially if you're new.
Yeah. Well, it took. I called that list for a year.
Okay, got you.
I continued to cycle through
15,000 is actually a freak ton of leads.
No, 1,500, bro. It was 1,500.
1,500?
Yeah, I spent $1,000. I spent like $1,000.
Wait a minute, did you just call the numbers over and over and over again?
Yeah,
that's what you must have done. If you were calling it for a year,
we had other lists at the time, like throughout the year, but I had that list in the cycle like the whole time.
So hold on. So talk to me a little bit, because that's like a huge difference, right? I remember how I felt with my first deal. I made like 10K, and I felt like I had just been blessed by Jesus Christ himself. Damn near. I'm not Christian, but like literally I was just over the moon. And I wasn't in that situation. I was living with my parents. I'm 27, so I was 25 when I got my first deal.
Okay.
So but I was living with my parents, and I remember being like, God damn, this like works. The most money I had ever made in like a year was like something like $5,000. But I mean, you were like basically homeless. You're sleeping on an air mattress that has a hole in it, which is hilarious.
Right.
That's not an air. Like, it's funny because like at least it's a small hole. But how did that feel? How did that it feel like going from that to getting deals?
It was insane, bro. Because the first deal, I didn't just keep getting deals, right? Like I had to wait some more time. So I still spent time on that air mattress, even though I had the money I didn't even have that much money. Like I said, I probably had like $1,000 left, and I decided to spend all that on the list, right? So I really couldn't even enjoy that money. It was like I needed it, right? Because I had to dig myself out of this hole, right? So I dug myself out the hole, paid for that, and now I'm like, okay, now it's time to work. Now it's time to really work, because now I have actual leads now. Like I have an actual list. So in my head, I'm like, oh, this is about to be easy now, right? So I had money to pay for a list, but I did not have money to pay for $1, right? So I'm sitting here hand dialing this list, bro.
Goddamn, dude.
For the first month, I would say month and a half, I'm hand dialing this list, bro. Like actually, it was probably about a month, because I saved up enough money from my job to start to pay for $1.
What job did you have while you were doing that?
This is when I was working at the lab.
That's when I was
working at the lab. Yeah. So I'm working. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. I let my dog out. But yeah. So I'm working at the lab right now. And I saved up enough money to get $1, right? So what I was doing was I'm hand dialing these every single day. I don't have a CRM, right? I'm using the Brent Daniel style. I had 2 notebooks, right? So I'm just writing everything in my notebook, like my follow-ups and everything, right? But I'm calling every single day consistently, bro. Waking up this is the time. Remember I said I was addicted to video games. I had to start putting the games away and start really changing my mindset to now a growth mindset. Now I'm extremely curious. Now I'm trying to learn as much as I can. And now I have to, right? Because I have no other options at this point. All right. So I'm waking up early every day, hand dialing, going after it. And I don't know if anybody on here knows how annoying hand dialing is, because it's crazy. Like when you have a dialer and you're cold calling on a regular basis, that thing is just ringing and ringing and ringing. You don't really need to do much work, because if somebody answers, it just goes on to the next lead, right? When you're doing this and you're hand dialing, you literally have to type the number in, call. Oh, this number doesn't work. Okay, let me call this next number for this person. Oh, this one doesn't work. You get to the 5th number and that one may work, right? And it may not work. So you just call it. You don't know if it didn't work or
you called all the numbers, dude.
I'm going through everything, bro. I still really don't know what I'm doing, right? So I don't know that the top 2 or 3 numbers are most likely going to be the right ones, right? So I'm not knowing just to take those ones. I'm taking all of them, bro, and I'm just calling, right? So it's just by any means, I got to make it happen. I ended up getting another 2 leads, right? I had a bunch of leads, but I had 2 that are really, really promising, right? I ended up getting one under contract 1 week. Then the next week after, got the other one under contract, right? This is I would say probably about another 2 months, 2.5 months into me living with these guys. And mind you, I have dogs, right? I had 2 dogs at the time. I was pissed. I had to give one of my dogs away because it was sad, because I couldn't live. These guys couldn't even have a dog at all. So I had one dog who she had separation anxiety, and she would always cry and bark and scratch at the walls and stuff. She was messing up their house. So I had to give her away. Luckily I got to keep my other one. He was really chilling and just sleeping.
That's sad. How did that feel? I mean, that's rough.
It sucked, bro. It sucked. But I had to make the decision, right? I had to do something. I had to figure something out, or I would be on the streets, right? So luckily I found a good home for her. It helped me come to the decision a little better. I talked to my friend who was he's a dog breeder, and he told me, he's like, bro, you're gonna be sad first couple of days, but you gotta do what you gotta do, and she's gonna be happy, right? She's in a nice place where she can live, she'll be good, right? So it is what it is, right? But so I'm living with them. It's about 2 or 3 months in. I have 2 leads that are actually under contract now, and now I'm just waiting for them to close. Right, I'm not just waiting for them to close. I'm looking for buyers now. And that's a tough thing when you're working for yourself, because you have to literally wear every hat. Right, so I get a deal under contract, then I need to find a buyer. That slows me down from cold calling, because I'm trying to find buyers now. Right, But ended up getting a buyer for one. Now we're just waiting to close. I still need to get a buyer for another one. But the closing dates for those are scheduled for 2 weeks apart. All right. Well, actually, a week away from each.
How much are you gonna make on the first one?
I had no clue. I had no clue at the time.
You didn't know? How did you not know what you were gonna make on it?
I didn't know. No, when I had this buyer. Yeah, I had this buyer. I made 12,000 on this one.
I mean, that's pretty sick still. Even like, I mean, how long did that take you?
That took me about another 2 months.
That's still pretty freaking impressive, bro. Yeah. Like, that's pretty good. Like, do you feel like that is incredibly quick, like for most people? Like I now do agents, but I used to do direct to seller, and I used to cold call too. I had a dialer and all of that. But what do you think made that difference?
The fact that I really don't know, bro. I think I was just making a lot of calls at the time. So what I was doing was, this is when I got the dialer and I was still working, right? Mm-hmm. So this now I'm calling every day on the dialer, and then I'm going to work and I'm text blasting all day, right? So I wasn't just stopping at 3 hours of calls. I'm going to work and I'm text blasting all day, and then I'm going to the bathroom like 10 times a day at work, and I'm really just making calls, right? Making follow-up calls. So I was extremely dedicated, bro. And I was
hungry, bro. That's the answer hungry. That I was like, like you're on an air mattress that has a hole in it.
Yeah.
Your dog is like fucking up your friend's house. You got like, if you made 6K on the other one, that means you had 2K left over. You have 2K to your name, and then whatever you're making from your job. Like, it's because you were hungry. That's the answer. Like,
that's the exact answer, bro.
That's hungry. Something that I've like learned is like the people who become successful, like, it is discipline, it's consistency and all of that. But I've had this saying that I've been like trying to, I'm not trademark. Somebody's probably said this, but it's always putting like a devil behind you. It's either a carrot in front of you or like a devil behind you that really like gets you freaking going. And at least then you definitely had a devil behind you,
bro. And that's what I always like. That's what I still do that to this day, but I do it purposefully now. Right. So like I talk about Keston a lot because he's my high performance coach. So like we have these conversations a lot, and like I realize like now.
Wait, who is this?
Keston Glasgow. Yeah, Keston Glasgow. Does like the mindset stuff and on Tuesdays on the Daily Dial. But yeah, so what I realized, like what I do now is I put myself in those uncomfortable positions on purpose now, because now it's like I got to make it happen. Like I'm constantly reminding myself I have to make it happen. That's why I'm living in an RV right now, right? Because like I don't want to stay comfortable, right? But bro, it gets worse. It gets worse, honestly.
Okay, well, let's keep going. Let's keep hearing the story.
So
that sounds pretty bad, bro. Like,
it gets worse.
Let's keep going. Let's keep going.
So, I'm under contract with one. Still looking for a buyer for another one. I'm honestly thinking, because it's getting close, right? I'm thinking about like canceling this contract. And this is when I was in the mindset. I'm still fresh, right? I'm in the mindset of like, I don't want to JV with nobody, because I don't want to give up half of this deal. Like, you only brought up this is literally how I'm thinking, right? I'm like, you only brought a buyer. I did the hard work. I got a contract, right? I don't think you deserve 50%. I can give you 20% for finding a buyer, right? I was greedy. And it's funny now, because now I'm totally opposite, right? Please find me a buyer. I'll happily give you 50%, right? So I had this lady, she's like, yeah, I have a buyer for you for this other one, but she wanted a higher fee, right? So I'm like, I'll figure it out on my own. So a couple of days go by. I'm working at a COVID lab. I end up getting COVID. Right?
Oh,
no. And mind you, I'm living in this living room,
right?
With a bunch of.
What year was this?
This was 2021, like 2020 going into 2021.
That's still like pretty peak COVID-y.
Yeah. It was.
That was like still pre-vaccine and all that.
Yeah.
So people were still freaking out.
Exactly. And what was I gonna say? So yeah,
you get COVID.
I got COVID. So my guys, I told them, and they're like, "Yo, like,
get out!
You gotta go.
Fuck out of my house.
You gotta go, right?" So I'm like, "Dang, what do I do?"
Right.
like I tell my dad lives in Pennsylvania still. I really don't have any family in Maryland, and the family that I do have, they're older. So like if I have COVID, they're not gonna just let me come, especially with my dog, right? So my dad's like, just come home. I'm like, no, I'm not coming home. Right. I feel like I don't like going backwards. I don't like going backwards. And that's really just a pride thing, honestly. And where I'm from, it's literally like it's a shithole, bro.
Get into that. Get into the, because like that's an interesting thing that I really like getting into, is things like that. Like that is something that I feel like I have too, a little bit of like the pride of like, I would like, how I have it is like, I remember like I would not, like I paid for rent when I was living here with my dad, even if I didn't have that much money and it wasn't like full rent. Like I made sure I was doing my keep. But talk about a little bit about that for a second. Like, where do you think that might have come from? Do you think there was something in like childhood that had that, or where do you think that came from?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So honestly, bro, I've been living away from home since I was about like 17. Like as soon as I graduated high school, I graduated high school young at 17. Not young, but younger. Usually people are like around like 18. But I graduated high school at 17, and I've been out of the state since then, living on my own since then. So it's like I wanted to be able to figure it out myself. And I didn't want to go home because back home it's crabs in a barrel, bro. It's really easy to get brainwashed out there. And I seen myself going home and not leaving.
Explain. What do you mean? Why would you not leave?
It's just so much, bro. Like so much. I was in a state where I was still getting my mindset right? Like you have to, in order to move on, you know, you have to unlearn a lot of the things that you learned your whole life, right? So I'm still training myself, right? I'm still training myself on discipline, on my mindset, just trying to think differently, right? Like when I was at the the townhouse with my friend living on the air mattress, they would party. They would have parties a lot at the house, and that's another thing, right? Like I'm in this space right now where that's not what I'm looking to do right now. I'm looking to move forward. I'm looking to elevate. So I'm trying to do things differently than what everybody else is doing. So when they were having parties, I would go to my car or go take my dog for a really long walk, and I would sit there and I would like listen to audiobooks and podcasts, read books, do stuff like that, right? And if I went back home, it would have been a lot. I would have had to say no a lot more. And it's a lot easier to me to say no to people that I've just met these past couple of years than it was to say no to like my friends and my family that I've known my whole life.
I got you.
At that point in my life, right? Like now it's like I'll say no to anybody. But back then when I'm still like fresh, I seen myself really falling back and falling back into that trap and just.
What was the trap? Like, I want to know, like, I'm trying to get really deep into like where you came from. Like, I want to know a little bit. So like what was the trap? Like, what do you think? Let's say you did go back home. Let's say you had COVID. You're like, all right, screw it. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm going to go back with my dad. Like, what were you afraid of? What would happen? Like specifically, like what happened?
Just being in the wrong, honestly, because I've never been one like so I grew up in Reading, Pennsylvania. It's like an hour away from Philly. And it's a pretty bad place. Like I've always lived in like my mom lived in the middle of the city. My dad lived in like the suburbs, but the suburbs is really it wasn't that much of a suburbs. It was still kind of shitty out there too.
Yeah.
So it's a lot. Like all my friends from high school, most of them sell drugs, or a lot of them passed away. And a lot of them are just doing things that don't align with me. Right. I've never been one to be a part of that crowd, but they were always my friends, right? If that makes sense. Like I wasn't doing what they were doing, but I was around. Right. So
it's still your environment.
Exactly. So my environment was just different, bro. And I felt like I wouldn't be able to really lock in like I was able to in Maryland, and where I was at just on my own.
Yeah, I get it. You would be sucked into like just hang out with these people who hang out in high school selling drugs. When you say pass away, I'm assuming you mean maybe from like violence and stuff like that, like people shooting each other and like I get it. Like it's hard to resist if you're around it, like the urge to go back to wherever you are.
Yeah.
Right. Like even me, like I have a roommate, or I had a roommate. And even while I was doing this, like it would be really hard to like resist partying. Like I probably party like once a month now just
Yeah.
because, but still, like it was really hard to resist like my old friends and like going back to that.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like it is necessary to separate yourself from that environment.
Yeah,
Um,
bro.
and that
And
was
people,
smart. And that was smart, even though you had COVID, that you knew you needed to do that.
yeah,
So I
people
applaud you
people
for that,
really
bro.
think. No, thank you, bro. I appreciate that. And people really think differently out there. They think way smaller, right? Like
Right.
I don't know. I feel like I recommend everybody leaves their hometown at one point. Because it's weird. Like it's like if you don't grow up there, you'll meet people who are like, because you have a chance to meet new people, right? So you'll meet people who you attract, right? And your vibe attracts your tribe, like our mentor
Right.
always says, right? So if your vibe is different, you're gonna attract different people than what you've usually attracted before, right? So I would say like back home, it's really tough. Like I had told one of my cousins one time, this was recently, because when I do go back home, I only hang out with them, right? I don't really go hang out and stuff like that.
Like people.
Like
I
now
get
I'm
it.
at a point where I could tell them no, right? Like last time I was there, they're like, "Yo, let's go out to this club." I'm like, "No, I'm good." All right, you can go, but I'm good, right? They ended up chilling with me, hanging out with me, right? But like I told one of them, I'm like, "Yo, like I want to be on stages. I see myself on stages, really inspiring people, motivating people, telling my story." And he laughed, right? He's like, "Oh, you want to be one of
Right.
them, right?" And that's like
Small-minded people.
exactly, and like back home, that's how
Toxic.
everybody
That
thinks,
shit is
bro.
so toxic, bro.
Yeah.
That is the one easiest way to become a failure, is like letting that infect your brain.
Exactly. Exactly. And at that point in my life, I don't think my mindset was as strong as it is now. It wasn't as strong as it is now. And I think it would have been easy for me to get like sucked in. Right.
Gotcha.
So I told my dad, I'm like, nah, like I'm not moving home. I'm gonna figure this out. Even if I gotta live in my car, I'm gonna figure it out. Right. So I my guys, they're like, yeah, you gotta go. I'm like, all right, just give me like a week or two. I'm like, can you at least just watch my dog? Right. If you could watch my dog for like a week or two, I'll come back and get him, or I'll have somebody come pick him up. Um, I just need to be able to find something for myself. Because I'm not gonna be able to find something. If I have COVID and a big ass dog, like nobody's gonna want to take me in, right? I don't have like a little
Right.
dog. I have a 50-pound pit bull. Like,
Damn. That's a
yeah,
big boy dog too.
exactly. So he's not like he was a smaller puppy at the time, but he's still a big dog at the
Still a
time.
big dog, yeah.
Yeah. So luckily, bro, and this was just God. I found I had found it was a hotel that would take on COVID patients at the time.
Oh,
Right.
interesting.
It was crazy. I've never heard anything about it, but I just looked it up, and it's like somebody recommended it to me, and I looked it up, and they're like, yeah, we have limited availability. I'm like, well, I need to be picked up like now. Like, and they're like, okay, we made it happen. They came and got me. And then they took me out there, right? They said, just pack some clothes for like a week or two. They said 2 weeks, pack some clothes. Um, we'll have everything else, right? Bro, when I tell you this was when I got there, this was straight out of a horror scene. Like it was crazy, bro. Like the whole
Oh no.
it was crazy. So I don't know. Have you ever been to Baltimore?
Yeah, actually, I've been there before. I went there once, like 3 or so years ago.
Do you remember like which is what the city looked like? Like was it like a really nice city or was it like pretty shitty?
It was okay. I mean, I stayed in like kind of the touristy area, and I was only,
Okay.
to be real, I was only there for like half a day. I was really
Right.
in DC, and then
Right.
we took the train there and hang out there for half a day. But
Okay.
I've heard it's shitty.
It's
I've heard
bad.
it's
Bro.
not
It's
great.
bad. So like the hotel was in kind of the touristy area, but it was like on the border of like the hood.
Right.
It was crazy. All right. So I'm there. First of all, they took me in through like this back entrance, right? And we get there, everybody has on these like full suits, like with the gloves and like the
Oh
mask,
damn,
like
hazmat suits.
yeah, the hazmat suits, right? So I'm like, okay, we get on this service elevator, go up to the very top floor, and I get up there, bro. No lie, bro. Like this seems like a crazy story, but this is the God honest truth, bro. I get up there and half of the lights are like flickering on and off, bro. You have like nurses posted up at every corner. I don't even know if they were nurses, but they had the full hazmat suits on and they're posted at every corner. And bro, they're staring at you like they don't even say hi. Like I'm saying hi, and they're just looking at me. I'm like, what the heck? So they put me
you're like a zombie patient or something,
bro. That's exactly what it felt like, bro.
Damn.
But I'm just grateful. I'm like, okay, I don't know what the hell I'm getting into, but I'm happy that I'm here. Like, I'm happy that I have somewhere to go, right? And it was a blessing, bro. Like, they brought me food. They brought me 3 meals a day. I was feeling terrible. Like, I was feeling so bad. They brought me two meals a day. And I'm just like, I just need to be here long enough until these deals close, right? Because I have 2 deals that are at Esco right now, and I have one. I'm like, I called the one girl who I need to buy her for still.
Hold on, I just want to really say real quick, that's amazing. You just said that's a blessing. That sounds absolutely terrible. Yeah. I guess it's a blessing in the sense that if you didn't, then you'd just be screwed. But that's so crazy. Like I just appreciate. I want to take a moment to appreciate the fact that like you understood so well that like even going back home with like your parents, where like that environment was worse than like being almost treated like a zombie by yourself.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. That's like that's a high level of understanding of like what you need to get done. So
bro, and it's crazy because I had no clue what was waiting for me. Like I had no clue what was gonna happen once I got out of that hotel. I didn't know if my friends were gonna let me back in. I didn't know if I was gonna be able to have the money for another apartment. I had no clue what to do, bro. I packed all my stuff out of their house. And it's just sitting in my car at this point. I couldn't even drive my car to the hotel. It had to stay in the parking lot at their house, right? So I have a bag of clothes, and I'm just here for the ride, right? And it's crazy. So I'm just sitting there. I'm like, the one deal is good, right? We're just waiting on the closing date. That's gonna happen this week. I'm just praying we have no setbacks. We had a couple setbacks before, and I'm just praying that this is gonna be where we need to be at, right? So that deal ends up closing, right? I'm like, cool. So one deal, and it closed the second week I was in there, right? So I'm like, all right, cool. I got I had a realtor friend out there. I'm like, can you please help me find an apartment fast? And he ended up finding one like the end of the week, bro. And this, no lie, bro. Like, this is really crazy how this was. And this was nothing but God, right? I had another one that it was set to close for couple days before I got out of there, but I still don't have a buyer. So I called the girl who told me at first that she may have a buyer, and I kind of brushed her off. I'm like, look, if you have a buyer, I'm down with going 50-50. She's like, cool. I got you. Right. I'm like, all right, cool. And when she did actually, so I'm sorry, this is what happened. I hit her up the week before, and I had told her, she's like, okay, just get an extension for like a couple weeks just in case, but I think I got you. I'm like, all right, I got an extension from the seller because I remember having that conversation with him vividly in the hotel. Mind you, I'm freaking dying, bro. Still making calls on my deathbed, and
you're still in the full throngs of COVID. Make it happen.
Yeah,
crazy,
just making it happen.
Absolutely crazy.
So he ends up signing an extension, right? Now, literally a couple days before I get out of there, bro, it closes, right?
Oh yeah.
Boom. So it made 8,000 on that one. So we made 16,000 total. I got 8,000, and I made 12 on the first one the week before, and
so $20,000.
$20,000, bro.
Bro, that is not chump change when you're dealing with that type of stuff. Like you're like, oh damn, dude, I'm like, what? I'm moving with stuff.
Bro, I'm like, I'm good. Like I'm not in trouble anymore, bro. Like I love it. Right. So I still need a place to go though. Right. So like I had a girlfriend at the time where she was basically living with me at my last house. But she had her mom and stuff. She was staying with her mom, and I'm like, dang, I still really don't know where I'm going, right? Like I have this guy looking for properties for me. My credit sucks. Like my credit was terrible at this time. So he ends up finding a house for me, an apartment for me. And I'm like, bro, I don't need to see it. Nothing. I see pictures, right? I'm good. Like I'm straight. Just let me know what he says I need to pay, and I'm gonna pay it. Right. Like I got this money. Like I'm feeling invincible at this point. I told him my credit sucks. He's like, oh man, you have somebody who can go on as a co-signer pretty much. And I'm like, yeah, my girlfriend got some good credit. So we used her. I don't know why though, because this guy still asked me, no lie, he asked me for 3 security deposits and first month's rent and first and last month's rent. So I pretty much paid.
Where was this? Maryland?
This is in Maryland. He did it because my credit sucked, right?
Yeah. In California, that's illegal, but
yeah. He I don't know what he did, bro. I don't know if it was legal or not, but he's like, yo, you gotta pay. He's like, in order for me to let you in.
Where is this? This is Baltimore?
No, I lived in Laurel, so this is 30 minutes from DC, 30 minutes from Baltimore.
Why there?
It's because it was in the middle of everything. And I went to school in a place called Bowie, and Laurel was like 10 minutes away from Bowie.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm there, and honestly, bro, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna just pay it. Like, I don't care at this point. Like, I need somewhere to go. I don't care how much you're asking. Here, wired in the money. I sent them like some on Cash App, some on Zelle. Like I broke it all up and sent it all to him. I'm like, I need a place to go. And that was that, bro. I moved out like a couple days later and went straight there. Bought a new air mattress and was living on that.
Bought a new air mattress. No hole this time, so we're moving up, dude.
Right. Yeah. But it was awesome, bro. And
dude.
So right then, I'm like, yo, this is.
I'm gonna back up for a second.
Yeah.
Because I want you to describe the feeling, because I can't even imagine. Because I remember, I think we talked about this 5 seconds ago, but like I remember the feeling when I got my first deal, and I was like so incredibly grateful, but I wasn't dealing with any of that. Like what I did was I had like put a bunch of money on credit cards in order to like skip trace stuff, but I still feel like that, like your story is way more insane. Like, tell me about that. Like, what was that? What would you describe that feeling? Like, what was going through your head?
It was insane, bro. Like going through my head at that time, it was like, this is going to work, right? I just knew for a fact that this is going to work, and not only was it going to, but it has to,
right?
So it just has to work, and I was just super grateful, bro. Like, gratitude is literally the only thing that I can. I was so happy that like once I got back to my car, I didn't even care. Like we had like by the time when I was there, it was like crazy snowstorms at the time, right? So by the time I got back to my car, It was like covered with snow and ice and stuff. And like, bro, I didn't even care. Like, I didn't even have the tools to get my stuff out. I literally didn't even care. I was super happy. I just started wiping my car off with my bare hands, bro. I'm like, yo, I'm good. Like, I got my place. I'm gonna go chill there. Like, bro, I'm
crazy.
Satisfied. But then it was like, okay, now this really works. Now you really, really know this works. Now you need to go hard. And kind of what you were talking about earlier, like I got my first 3 deals really, really fast. But that right there was a blessing and a curse. Right. And I'll tell you why, because one, I thought this shit was easy.
Right.
I thought it was easy, and it really messed my head up. Right. Because I'm like, I really don't need to work as hard. All I need to do is make a couple calls and I can make $20,000 in a couple months. Right. So I'm making calls. I'm still working hard, but not as hard as I should be.
Right. Because you're not as hungry. You're not as desperate as you were before.
Exactly. And this was my first time touching some like real money. So I had to actually like blow that money for me to start getting back on track.
What'd you blow it on?
I went on vacation and spent a lot of
classic, like
I spent a lot of money on vacation. Like,
I got you.
I bought like me and my girl went. I bought 2 jet skis, like 2 different times. Like it was
Yo,
crazy.
we're balling now.
Yo, yeah, I'm like, we're rich. Like, get whatever you want. Right?
Yeah.
So but that was actually a real blessing that I blew that money. And I didn't realize that until I came out to Arizona one time and I was talking to another sub 2 student, telling him the story, and he's like, bro, most people don't touch their real money till their 40s and 50s, right? Aren't you? You should be glad that you got it out your system early. And I'm like, that's very true. Like, that's
right. Like, you got at it, like understood not to blow your money, you mean?
Yeah, exactly. But the blessing and the curse, like from it happening so fast, it was like I didn't get my next deal for like another 3 or 4 months. One, because I had to build up a whole new pipeline, right? Because I'm super focused on these 2 deals that I'm not getting any more leads. I'm not really cold calling or nothing like that. I'm not getting any more.
I want to ask you a question real quick, going back for a second, because this is like something interesting to me. Because I've noted, like, I mean, different communities have different levels of financial education, right? Like where you were coming from, it sounds like probably there was like no financial education whatsoever. Like when because I mean, I'm obviously like grew up in the suburbs, mainly like white people. Like financial education is like something I'm taught like when I was young. So I was curious. It sounds like you weren't taught anything about that.
Well,
like probably
my grandfather, he would teach me some things here and there, but it was never like invest. It's always save, right? It's always save for a rainy day. Like my grandfather, he always talk about like want versus need. Like, do you really want this? Do you really want to spend money, or do you need this? Right? Only spend money on what you need, right? And that was the type of stuff that I grew up on. Right? Like my mom was really good at saving money. She's really good at saving money and using what she has. Right. So like that's what I would be taught, but I didn't want to live like that. Like I didn't want to just hold on to like every single penny. So like me, I would just get money and I would just spend it.
Right. Gotcha. No worries.
But yeah, but it wasn't like really didn't teach it like that. Like it was like here and there we learned something, but it wasn't like.
But it wasn't invest. It was more like put it in the bank account, make sure you got it for just in case shit happens type of thing.
Exactly.
I got you. So okay, so keep going on. So you blow all your money. What happens? What's the lesson you learn?
So I blew all my money and I quit my job. I blew all my money and I quit my job. Right.
That's hilarious.
The lesson I learned was, okay, now I'm back in this position where I was just at, because like now I'm obviously more comfortable, but now it's like I can be right back to where I just was if I don't grind. Right. So I had a little money saved up, and thankfully I had a really cool landlord. Like this guy's actually on my buyer's list, because I was behind a lot like that first year, because I'm like, yo, this is really easy. I got $20,000 in my bank. Let me quit my job. Right. I quit my job and I blew half of the money, and I blew pretty much all the money, and the rest of it, like I was living off of it pretty much, like eating, sleeping, paying my rent, paying my car note. Everything was from that money, and it went fast. Right. So there was a couple months where I was super behind on my rent. And luckily I just had a really cool landlord who just understood. Right. So it taught me that I just need to keep going. Right. And it taught me something about myself as well. Like once I feel comfortable, I'd let my foot off the gas. I think that's with everybody, right? Once you feel comfortable, you let your foot off the gas. And that's why I told myself, like, for the rest of my life, like I'm going to continue to put myself in uncomfortable situations. I'm going to invest some of my money, and I'm going to live off of the bare minimum, right? I'm going to do shit like move across the country in an RV and really minimize my expenses, and just like really just like live really, really light, right? Like
tell me, I understand why. It's because you realize that when you have, this is what I call, you have the devil on your back, you get really freaking motivated to work.
Yeah.
Right. What does that mean to you? Like, what does that mean now? Like I'm just curious. Like, you're obviously making deals happen, so like you could upgrade a bit, and you could do other things. Like what do you mean exactly by keeping your expenses lower, keeping it where you're still hungry? Like, what do you do?
Because what I really want to do, bro, and the life that I really want to live, I feel, me personally, I know that I'm not, but I like to think that I need to go a lot further, and I need to go a lot harder, right? Like I don't want to feel like I'm like right there. Like for some reason, like I want to feel like I still got some time to go, and I need to figure this out, right? So and it just really helps me not get comfortable, right? It really helps me not get comfortable. It's like, okay, bro, you're living in this, and I really want to minimize my expenses to use this as like a catapult year, right? Or like because this is my first time really, like, yes, that 20,000 my first time touching real money, but now like I have like a an actual system built out. Now I have a team, right? Like now I'm really just like really fine tuning things so that this next couple years is gonna be insane, bro. It's just gonna be different.
I love it.
Right. So I'm using this year to really just like lock in, focus, not really worry about too much of this. Like, bro, I don't have a car right now, right?
Right.
I'm living like super, like, because and you need a car in Arizona, right? But I don't want to.
How are you doing? What are you doing,
bro? I work, I go home and I work.
No, but like, how do you get around?
I Uber when I have to go, but it's
Right.
it's like
that's what I'm doing too, by the way.
Yeah,
Like,
but that's also like a blessing for me, because if I had my car, I would just be hanging out a lot, right? I'd just be hanging. It's hard to say no a lot in Arizona, right?
yeah, that's the one thing that that would be my one issue being in Phoenix, is I feel like there's so many homies there now that it's like, all right, but like, how much am I like hanging out? We can talk about that later, but anywho, so now no car, and so like living like this life where you're like in an RV, you don't have a car, living super simply. You're doing it because you want to still feel hungry.
Yeah,
right.
That's one of the reasons.
Okay, I got you. What are the other reasons?
Like I was saying, like just like to use this as a catapult year, right? Like so, like really just.
What's the plan? I want to hear the plan. So like, what's the goal right now?
So my goal is 20 deals a month consistently, like wholesale. I want to.
Oh yeah, that's fucking crazy. I love it.
Yeah. Right now my goal for Airbnbs, I want 22 Airbnbs. And my goal for that is that's like the first stepping stone, right? Eventually I want to get into multifamily. I want to cash flow an insane amount of money so I can help an insane amount of people. But like right now it's 22 Airbnbs, 20 deals a month consistently in wholesaling. And right now I'm just putting the pieces together, bro. I'm just making sure all my T's are crossed, I's are dotted, everything is right. So now next year I can really just like flood everything and just 10x what I'm trying to do.
I love it. I love to hear
it. I don't like to, like, one of my things, I want to travel a lot, right? So I want to, these Airbnbs that I'm buying, I want to pretty much pick and choose when I'm living in them and rent the other ones out when I'm not there, right? And just like move somewhere different every 2 years, right? Like I want to live in a different lifestyle. Like I want to be a billionaire. I walk around and I treat myself. I tell myself I'm a billionaire a lot.
Hell yeah.
And like that's just the ultimate goal, bro. And like every time I listen to somebody who's like really made it, they have those years or those couple years where they really stayed down and lived like beneath their means and really put things together.
So what inspires you to want to be a billionaire? Like specifically, like it's interesting because I had this conversation. People don't know this, but like my uncle is like legitimately a billionaire, and it's like very interesting. And I'm like, his reasons for being a billionaire, I personally hate. Like he's like I hope he's not watching this. I don't think he is, but like it was. I doubt he's watching this. Probably should talk about it, but like it seemed like I don't think his reasons are like the ones that we talk about, like so that we can like give back to the community. Yeah. But like what like for you, like why do you want to be a billionaire? Because like I feel like around 10 million is where like you could do all that. You could travel. You could probably start getting on some stages. Like, I'm just curious, like, is there a reason for that one specifically?
I can help way more people, bro.
Yeah.
The more money I have, I can help way more people, right? Like Elon Musk, right? Elon, he's making cars that are pretty much saving the earth, right? Like we're not everything that he does is like to save the earth, right? And that's so cool to me because like you're not just helping yourself, you're helping billions of people. You're helping the world, bro.
Right.
And like that's so like I was a biology major, right? So I love the earth. I love nature, right? Like that's one of my hobbies. Like I love kayaking and like hiking and stuff like that. Just being in nature, right? And one thing that I really want to do is really like help fight pollution and help save the earth, save the oceans, stuff like that. And you need a lot of money to do the stuff that I want to do, right? Like I hate seeing homeless people on the street. Right. Maybe because I was almost there. Right. And like I really want to help them out. Right. So like I want to have like homeless shelters worldwide, nationwide, maybe even worldwide. Like I said worldwide the first, it may as well be worldwide, like shelters, right? Being able to help people out, put them in position to get cleaned up, get educated, get jobs, right? Do stuff like that. Like I can help way more people with more money that I have.
I love it. I love it, bro. All right. I keep getting distracted and asking about different stuff I'm interested in, but we're at the story. You have some money, you blow it all.
Yeah.
Then what happens?
So I'm like, I joined sub 2 as well. So I didn't really blow it all, right? I got into an apartment, I paid for sub 2.
Nice.
I went to Puerto Rico and spent the rest of it, right? So I'm in sub 2 and I'm just.
When was this?
This was March 2021.
Okay.
March 2021. Yeah. So I'm in sub 2, right? Going to the Daily Doll every day, being one of those people, just being extremely annoying, right? Like I worked for somebody that was in sub 2. He's no longer there. We don't got to talk about who that is now. We could talk off stage. Sure. But I worked for them, right? Because I actually, that's what it was. I called Marlon, right? I called Marlon Johnson. Marlon was on. I really didn't even know Marlon, right? I didn't even know Marlon at the time, really. Like I just seen him on a Daily Doll. He gave me some tips here and there. I hit him up, asked him for his number, gave him a call, right? And I'm like, yo, I really don't know what I'm doing here. Like I could talk to sellers, right? But I don't have the money for leads. Like I'm cold calling all day. And now I have a lot of time, right? But I really don't understand the business like that. Like I understand how to wholesale, but I don't understand how to really, really wholesale, right? And he's like, bro, why don't you work for somebody? And I'm like, it's a good point. He's like, yeah, get on somebody's team, make calls all day. He's like, focus on that. So if you got time to make calls all day, do that. I'm like, cool. Let me do that, right? So Marlon actually told us. He always tells the story like when we always like get together, and literally a week later, I was working on somebody's team, right? Because I'm the type of person like once I get something, I implement it, bro, instantly, right? So I'm on somebody's team, making calls, and they were doing a lot of business, a lot of business. So I'm talking to a lot of sellers, right? This may give away who I was talking about, but this guy had like a heavy JV model as well. So like half the students in sub 2 were sending him leads, and they really didn't know that it was me that was making the calls, right? Like it's me making these calls most of the time. He's giving me feedback, helping me out, telling me what to do, right? But it's me making a lot of those calls. And I just learned so much, bro. That's why I recommend working for somebody else, because it really took my learning curve from here to here, bro. Like, yes, we're in the greatest mentorship of all time. And the reason why it's the greatest is because we have so many people in here that are doing high level things who need help, right? He needed people to make calls, right? So I volunteered my time and I made calls for this guy for literally like probably about 8 months, right? Probably about 8 months. I'm just making calls all day. Locked up a bunch of deals. None of them sold. None of them sold for, at least I don't think none of them sold. Right? So none of them sold. I didn't get paid for any of them. But I'm like, damn, like this whole time I skipped a big part. Like this time I have my own business as well. I have 2 partners. One was my cousin. One was
you're making calls and you're also working for somebody else.
Exactly.
Is he paying you just per deal?
Per deal.
So okay, but you blew all your money. So where are you getting money from?
I had some reserves, right? And I also have my girlfriend.
Well, what's some reserves? Because I want to know.
I didn't have much at all. I probably had like
what, a couple of grand?
A couple grand. That ended up being gone as well, right?
So what happened? Like
I had nothing. Well, no, it was just gone because I was paying like my bills and stuff, like
right?
Car and stuff, and then it eventually just I was in the negative at one point, bro.
Yeah,
it was bad. I had a girlfriend she was picking up the tab a lot of the time, and I definitely respect her for that. But that's what happened. I lost all my money, bro. And I still have I have a partnership. We're trying to figure this out on our side. My superpower was I'm good at talking on phones, right? So I told them like, look, if you guys can pay for everything, I'll talk on the phones all day and lock up all these deals. I was locking deals up. We're doing deals, but it's 3 of us, right? And then we're doing a lot of JV and stuff. So those splits get really slim, really quick, right? So we're closing deals, but I'm still broke, right? Because now when I'm getting paid, that 25%.
This is over 8 months.
This is over 8 months. This is like my
So-
first year in sub 2.
So we're like getting to the end of 2021 now.
End of 2021. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm working. I'm making a bunch of calls. We're locking up deals, getting deals done. But I'm getting only 25% of each deal. So every time I make money, it's going into my debt, right? I'm cutting into my debt. So it's like I'm in the rat race for real.
Yeah.
Like I'm
Gotcha.
trying to get out of debt, but I just can't because I'm getting a deal every other month, right? I wasn't really consistent at the
How
time.
do you so there's probably somebody watching this right now who's dealing with that same thing. I was there for a little bit where I was getting into debt, making my business go for the first I got my first deal 4 months in, and then my next deal was 8 months in. And basically I did something similar to you. I didn't blow the money really. What I did was I joined Jamil's program.
Okay.
Then 4 months I got my first deal for 10K, immediately spent it on sub 2, and then I was like,
Nice.
it's cool. I'll get like another one in like 2 to 3 months. And then I'm like, which is going all on the credit cards.
Yep.
Racking that up for like 8 months. And I'm like stressing. How did you deal with that type of stress? Because that type of stress is rough. Like I've been there. Like how do you deal with it? Or how did you?
Bro, I just kept talking to myself, bro. I talked to myself a lot at that time.
Explain.
And it's like whenever I had a negative thought, like, man, this shit is going bad, right? I would have to snap myself out of it, right? And say, no, like you're on the right track, right? This is what you're supposed to be going through. Right. Like I would literally have conversations with myself. And it was really, I'll tell you the tough part, because when I was alone, I was fine, right? Because like I'll just distract myself by working, right? I would work 8 hours a day, and I would literally make calls for 8 hours a day, bro.
Damn.
I would work way longer than 8 hours a day. I'd make calls for 8 hours straight and just literally just sit at my desk from the time I woke up to the time I went to sleep. I'm at my desk working, right? And I wasn't really thinking too much about what's going wrong. I'm thinking about everything that could possibly go right. But that's really tough, especially when at that time I'm in a relationship and she's pretty much holding the weight, right? So it's like,
that's rough.
It's rough, right? We got a lot of arguments and stuff like that, and it's like it was just tough, right? So that was the only stuff. That was the
hard part was when you were with your girl. Then
that was the hard part. That was the hard part. That's when I would like, and honestly, bro, I felt like less of a man at that time.
Right.
I really couldn't provide, right? And that's what really like would get me mad. So what I would do, I would like go on walks and stuff like that to like calm down, like ease the stress a little bit. But
what are you doing? You're like talking to yourself. You're like, what are you saying? Like, what are you saying?
Like, again, talk to myself a lot. I call myself a billionaire a lot, right? Like, you're a billionaire, right? Like manifesting things, affirmations, just talking to myself, right? Like, and I gotta shout my guy Olu out. You know Olu Laniano? He's in sub 2. He's in the DMV. I hope I didn't butcher his last name, but that summer he would literally come to my house every single day, and we make calls. Right? I didn't have no furniture in my house. I had literally 2 desks, one for him and one for me, and we just make calls all day.
I love that.
And that's a lot. I learned a lot from that. And a lot of my mindset things, like I really didn't have time to be stressed. Right. Now that I'm thinking about it, because he would literally knock on my door at 8 o'clock in the morning and we're working till 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night. Right. So like I really didn't have time to be stressed because my brother's over here and we're working, we're putting in work. Right. And we're competing. Right. And it's friendly competition, but we're competing. Right. And things are fun. And I'm not really thinking about what's going wrong. Right. I'm just distracting myself with work. Right. And what you focus on is what you get. Right. Like we all read these self-help books. And that's why a lot of people who are down, they stay down because they're worried about their current situation. They're thinking about what they're currently going through, not what they want. Right. You're not thinking about the life that you want. And I played this vision in my head all day of this life that I want. right? And I still do, right? Like my screensaver on my laptop, I actually just reset my laptop, but before it was the house that I want to live in, right? It's this huge mansion on like right on the water. It has a huge pool, right? And I look at it every single day as I'm working, right? It's just pulled up, right?
I love it.
And I'm just telling myself like, this is your house, right? Tom just didn't catch up yet, right? So like I just constantly reminding myself and just getting in those rooms, bro. Like getting in the rooms is the power of proximity, right? Just being around people who are successful, right? They do it the right way, who are positive, right? People who are living good lives, who are happy, right? And just see what they're doing, have conversations with them, and do what they're doing, right? Like all my friends I know that are happy and positive, they have a routine. They only think about positivity. They say their affirmations, like everything is positive in them. They cut people off who are negative, right? So I'm like, okay, this is what I need to do, right? So just knowing that I'm so close, it just made me realize like, yeah, like there's no reason to stress. Stressing doesn't solve any issues.
Got you. Damn, man. I need to take a lesson from you. I still get fucking stressed, and I got a lot of money in the bank. I'm still like,
bro, it sucks, right? But like, that's another thing, right? When I did get stressed, right? It's like you got to be grateful, right? Because if you're stressed and you're upset, right? Yes, it's human, right? We're human. Everybody's gonna get stressed at one point, right? But the important part is to move on, right? Don't stay stressed, right? Tell yourself, okay. I'll tell myself all the time, like look where you've come, right? Look at where you're at and look where you've come, right? You did not have these problems 2 years ago at all. So be grateful for the problems that you're having now, right? Because now I can learn something. So just switching it from stressing and being upset to gratitude, I think is the ultimate hack, bro.
And the way to do it is just think about like what you're gonna have, like when you got nothing. You think
what you're gonna have, and when you don't have nothing, think about where you came from, and think about it could always be worse, right? So
that was still better than you being in like the COVID hospital.
Yo, way better, 10 times. I'm chilling at this point, right? Like I'm good, right? Like so it could always be worse, right? Like I seen a meme one time, right? And it was a guy who he had a car, right? His car was taken away. And this guy's like pissed off, right? But then it like panned to somebody else who he didn't have a car, right? Like this guy crashed his car, he's pissed off. Actually, no, the guy had a shitty car, right? It was like an ugly car, and he was mad, right? And then the other guy, he's like, I don't have a car at all. I gotta walk. I gotta take the bus every day, right? So, and then it showed him complaining about taking the bus, right? Then it showed another person who's just grateful that he has 2 feet and he can walk, right? And like they show eventually he loses he doesn't lose his legs, but he can't walk, right? So he's mad. Then they show another guy who's in a wheelchair. He can't even walk. Right. And it just teaches you like just be super grateful for whatever you have. Because if you're not, then you don't deserve what you want if you're not grateful for what you have, right? So yeah, bro.
I got you. No, that's super powerful and I appreciate it. Yeah, it's like I'm constantly I have trouble even now when I have like I've made a ton of money, I still stress out.
Yeah,
I still like have trouble sometimes doing it. I do some stuff like I do have like this Tony Robbins video I do with my team, which is cool that I like, and also been meditating. But
have you ever read the book? And I was gonna ask you this earlier because you had brought something up. Have you ever read the book? What is it? The Gap and the Gain. The Gap and the Gain. So it talks about so the gap, right? That's where you want to be, right? That's what you haven't accomplished yet. That's what you're actually like still striving for.
So like that.
Hold on. Yeah, the gap and the gain.
And the gain.
And the gain. Yeah. So that's what you're striving for, right? And then what the gain is that's where you came from, right? Let's like look at what everything you've accomplished, right? So the gap is like things that maybe haven't gone your way, things that you're dealing with right now that you may be like ungrateful for. And then like a lot of people live in the gap, right? Like that's right now. That's where we're at right now. A lot of people live in the gap, but the gain is literally look at where you came from, bro. Like you, like I just said, like you did not have these problems last year, right? These are higher level problems, right? Because you're at a higher level. So appreciate where you came from and just understand that you need to go through the gap to get to the game, right? So just being super grateful for every single situation, bro. And just looking back, like everything that I've been through, that's when I've learned the most.
Right.
Right. So I have to be grateful. So now it's like when I'm going through some tough shit, it's like, let's go, bring it on. Like I'm ready to learn, bro.
I love it.
I don't care what's coming at me. Like everything's an opportunity to learn. Right. And just be a problem solver. Right. Like it's like, oh, this happened. Okay. Well, here's the next step. Right. Let's figure this out.
I love it.
Yeah.
Cool. So, okay. Working for somebody else, making calls, getting like a fourth of the deal. And then what happens?
I left my partnership because I was doing a whole lot of work. I felt like I was doing a whole lot of work for no reward, really. And I'm like, bro, there's no reason why. Like I went back and looked at like the last like 5 deals, and I'm like, yo, I generated this lead, I closed the deal, and I sold it. Well, I didn't sell it, but I connected my dispo guy with the person who brought the buyer, right? So
Yeah.
it's like,
I mean, you sold it basically.
Right. So I'm like, bro, this is a lot for 25%. Right. So I'm like, look, and that was really tough because remember my partners were my cousin and one of my best friends from college. So like I did that wrong. I left that partnership totally wrong. Like it was like I had called them and then they didn't answer. So I sent the text. I sent the long ass text and it was like just totally wrong. Like it was just terrible. But I learned a lot through that as well. And I talked to Pace about that. Like I had a one-on-one with Pace. Oh, and mind you, so all throughout this time, bro, I'm in and out of sub 2 because I couldn't afford my payment. Right. So I'm in and out. Like,
you're in the payment, you're doing the payments method and you're not paying.
Yeah. So like when I first got the money, I paid like half, and then the rest was just like monthly payments. Right. So like I couldn't afford it. So there was a time where I was out of sub 2 for a few months, right? And I came back, and then I didn't even get back because I paid. I got back because I referred somebody into sub 2, and they told them, and they gave me like a free month, right? So I'm like, bet, like I'm gonna make this free month count. Like, so I got in, ended up landing a one-on-one with Pace when he was doing one-on-ones and stuff. And I told him about my whole situation. I'm like, look, man, I don't got no money, blah, blah, blah. Like, I don't know what to do. He's like, Daryl, when you start providing more value to this community, it's going to pay you 10x. Like he told me that straight up. He's like, you can close deals, right? Like he's like, you can close deals. I've seen I was posting some stuff on Instagram. He's like, you know how to close deals, right? He's like, there's so many people in sub 2 who don't know how to close deals. He's like, reach out to them, provide value. I'm like, got it. So I went on a tangent, bro, of just providing as much value as I could to people. I'm dropping call recordings in sub 2. I'm doing one-on-ones with people. I'm like connecting with people. Ended up getting flooded with leads, bro. Flooded with leads. Like people just start sending me leads on a daily basis. So I'm just making calls and just doing what I'm doing. Like I'm like, all right, cool. I can make calls. I was recording my calls off of like GarageBand or something like that on my laptop.
What?
I was just calling on my phone. I didn't have the money for like a dialer or anything like that. I had a CRM at the time, and I was just making calls, bro. Just making calls, going hard. Ended up closing a couple of deals. Then I got too many leads that I couldn't handle it as much, right? So now it's like, okay, I need an integrator. Even though I can do both. I'm integrator and visionary.
You're much more visionary.
What do you say?
You're much more visionary.
More visionary. Yeah, much more. But I'm a damn good integrator too. Like my systems and stuff, like they're really good. Like when I brought my integrator on, he's like, "Oh yeah, I'll throw my Podio away. Like let's just use your stuff." I'm like, "All right, cool."
Nice.
So ended up finding an integrator, and he's like,
"Who is he?"
His name's Sadik.
Did you find him from
sub
2? How did you do that? Because it's interesting. Because like, I mean, I'm a solopreneur, and it's an interesting thought of like getting an integrator. I don't really know how to do it. It seems like dating, but like I feel like I'm in high school again in the sense of like I really don't know how the game is played at all. Like what's like the first asking out, like all of that stuff. So like how does that work? Like for somebody who's a visionary and is like, man, it'd be dope to have an integrator. How do you find that person? How do you vet them?
It's tough, bro, because I'm still going through it right now, right? Like we're in the dating phase as well. Things are
How
going
new are
well.
you guys together?
We got together in like February.
Okay, that's only 5 months. 5 months.
5 months. Yeah. So we're still dating right now. And things are we're just ironing some things out, right? But like I don't want to say I'm a bad interviewer or like hirer or whatever, but I trust my gut like a lot. And sometimes it'd be wrong, right? Like a lot of times.
Have you ever read the book Who Not How?
Yeah, I haven't read it yet. I haven't read that yet.
Or the Who, maybe not Who Not How. The Who method. It's actually the Who method, not the Who Not How is a completely different thing. Who the method, the A method for hiring. That's what I'm talking about. Not Who Not How. That's a completely different book. No, it's all about how you hire people. I highly recommend it for people. I literally just I have a part bookmark from the book, and I literally like when I'm interviewing someone, just ask those questions that are in the book. I'd recommend that one if you're starting to hire people.
I'm gonna get that.
That's like honestly like the best book for hiring in my opinion.
Thank you, bro. I need that because like I really like I ask questions if the vibes right. I'm like, all right, let's try it out.
Like you, let's do it.
Yeah, I'm like, let's try it out. Right. Like even with hiring, like I just had a lead manager on my team that we just had to let go. Like she was on my team for like a week, right? And it's because like I'm like, let's go. Like these vibes are cool. Let's go. So I brought her.
She's like not a salesperson at all.
Yeah, she made like 20 calls in like a week. I'm like, yeah,
you can do.
Right. So it's definitely tough, but I would say one thing I learned, bro, is just like communication is everything. Right. So like what I did was I made a post in Facebook and said like everything that I do bad at and everything that may be a red flag. I'm not the best communicator, right? Like that's why me and my ex-girlfriend broke up. Like I'm not the best communicator. I know this, right? So you have to bear with me, right? But I put out like everything I'm good at, everything I'm working on, and I had a bunch of people reach out to me, right? Bunch of people reach out to me, and what I do is like when I'm hiring, and I probably shouldn't say this because now when people like when I'm looking to hire people, they're gonna follow this. But what I do is I wait. Like if you reached out to me, if I made a post and you reached out to me, I may like open your message, but I'm not gonna respond right away. Like I'm gonna make sure like you're gonna follow.
If you follow up,
exactly. Because if you don't follow up with me, you're not gonna follow up with my leads, right? So I did that with like all my lead managers, acquisitions managers, and I even did that with my integrator. Like hit him a bunch of times, and we got onto a Zoom, and it worked out.
I love it.
We're still working it out, but just communicating and just over communicate, bro. Like tell them how you feel. It's really a relationship, bro. Honestly, it's really a relationship. Like tell them how you feel about things. If you don't like things, like say it early, because like one thing I learned, I had like my old partnership, I ended up like resenting them almost.
Right.
Like they're calling me and stuff and trying to get on meetings, and I'm like making excuses as to why I can't get onto the meeting because like
you just didn't want to talk to them.
Exactly. I'm gonna be in a bad mood, right? So
and that's not a good headspace to be in.
Exactly.
So find your integrator. You start working for yourself. You start getting leads, and just been closing them and wholesaling them ever since. Or what's been happening?
Yeah, things have been looking good. I really don't even make that many calls. That's why I was laughing a little bit earlier when you're like, every time I see you making a call, I really only make like
you do it on YouTube.
I do on YouTube. I make calls on YouTube. But when I'm making calls on YouTube, I'm proud. Like those are pretty much like I'll be streaming and I'll be like, yo, who has a lead that I could call right now?
Right.
Like, like those types of things. But like on my business, my team gets all the leads, right? My team gets all of them, unless it's
You talk to sellers anymore?
I do. I probably talk to like 3 sellers a day, 3 or 4 sellers a day. It's not a lot.
Are you still the act manager? Are you still closing the
I'm
deals and
still
they're
the act
doing lead
manager.
managers?
I'm still the act manager. But I have how I call them, I have lead managers and I have closers on my team. And I'm kind of like the sales manager on my team.
Gotcha.
I need to replace myself as a sales manager, but that's right now I'm the sales manager as well.
You're in the scaling part. I get it.
Yeah.
I'm with you there too. I'm in the scaling part. Like we're getting there at that point.
Exactly.
Cool, bro. So like what's your biggest problem right now?
My biggest problem right now is that's a good question. Like business wise or like
yeah.
Okay. My biggest problem I would say is, and it's been this for a little while, like I haven't learned the lesson yet, but not motivating my team, but getting them to hit their numbers. Because now I'm in a position to where, and I hope they're listening to this too, but now I'm in a position to where I need to bring more people on, right? Like I thought I was at a sweet spot at like 4 people. I had like 7 people at one time, and then it was like nobody was making calls, and I'm like, what the hell am I doing wrong? Like I have leads in front of everybody. Like I'm doing training with people. I don't know what it is, right? So like I'm just testing things out. I had 7 people at one time, got down to like 2 people at one point. That was looking pretty good. But now I'm at 4 right now, 4 closers. And I've been trying a couple things, different things. But I think I'm going to add a couple more people on now and just get like, I was talking to Brandon, Brandon Duran. So I was talking to Brandon and he had given me a tip. He's like, because they have a whole bunch of like closers and lead managers on their team. They have a lot, right? So he's like, yo, what we do, he's like, I'm not going to just throw somebody aside because they can't make the number of calls that I'm asking them to make. If they're really good, I don't want to waste that, right? But what I'm going to do is if you're not taking these leads serious, I'm going to give them to somebody else on the team, right? And they're going to call them. Like if you don't call this lead in a day, 2 days, I'm going to give it to somebody else, right? And I started doing that as well, and that's been helping. But I've just been really trying to figure out how to get the team to hit the goals, because like, leads isn't an issue. Leads is not an issue at all, right? Like I have the systems in place. Things are just I just need to get them to make more calls.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like my team, I feel like it's different because I have an agent model. I consider the agent model completely different than the direct to seller. I'm like literally like this is gonna happen on Friday. I'm gonna be like, guys, this is as different from wholesaling as fix and flipping. Like direct to seller as agent is the difference between wholesaling and fix and flipping, in my opinion. Like it is a different game completely.
Yeah.
And like so like for me, like getting people to get the calls done, it's like I can, it's like interesting because also like, is it that that's so interesting they're not following up on their leads? Like I watch my guys, they're like creating their own leads. I can kind of tell if they're not following up on them, and I'm just like, hey man, like what's happening here? Like what's going on? I don't know. It's interesting. I'd have to like think about it. Like I don't think I've had that problem.
I don't know. Like I talked to Pace about it, and he had told me like the answer was because they're Americans, right? Like that was the answer he gave me. And I'm like, I understand that. I definitely understand that part of it. So that's why I'm working on getting my VA to I one lead manager VA, and he's really close to closing deals. He'll probably start closing like next 2 weeks when I bring on a new lead manager to replace him. But he'll be up there for sure. But I actually had one of my guys today. He's like mad at himself because we make all of our calls in a virtual office, right? And he's like mad at himself, and I'm like, bro, what's wrong, right? And he's like, because he just started probably about 2-3 weeks ago. He's like, I thought I would have had a deal by now. I'm like, how many calls have you been making? And he's like, I don't know. So I look into the system. I'm like, bro, you made 6 calls yesterday. I'm like, how do you expect to get a deal? And he's like, well, I guess you're right. I'm like, no, I know I'm right. Like they're directly correlated.
Everybody.
The more
It's
calls
so
you do,
insane.
the more deals you
There's
get.
definitely a thing with employees where it's like hard like that. I get
Yeah.
it. I don't know if I can give as much advice on that. I like giving advice, but that's just such a different problem in my model. Like, because the thing is, all we do is text. So the
Yeah.
texts always go out and they always have to respond. And I always can see if they're responding to them. So if they're
Yeah.
responding to their text, they're going to get a deal.
Right.
Like, so it might just be different, like in the sense of like the getting in leads and stuff like that.
No, it's a completely different model, bro. Like,
Yeah.
somebody asked me today. They asked me for help on a lead that they have, and that the lead is from an agent, right? And my question is, well, what's the seller's motivation?
Right. Yeah, dude. Like it's completely different, bro.
I'm like, so like the advice I gave her, I'm like, well, I mean, I'm like, I don't follow this model, so you may need to find an Astro student to help you. But what I would do is see if I can get on a 3-way call with the seller. Like, that's what I would want to do.
That's not what you do with agents. That's funny, bro. I love that.
Right.
So all right. So I think I got it. And then now you guys are like scaling up. You guys got people. Your biggest challenge is like getting your people to like call when they should be calling. And then
right.
I get it. So then yeah, bro. And then you're here now making deals happen. I love it. I got through most of your story. We're already at an hour 40. So I'm probably gonna wrap it up. But like, do you have anything you want to say to the people? How can people follow you first off?
My name right here, it's my Instagram.
Okay.
At Daryl Ellison. That's the best place to reach out to me. As you can see, bro, I'm a shitty texter. I'm really bad at texting. Like I respond in my head, and then like I just don't hit send.
Dude, you weren't that bad. You weren't that bad with me.
Really?
To me, that's like normal texting.
Okay, good, good.
That's like very much how I text. I mean, you got shit to do. I also have things to do.
Yeah, good.
Like I'll call you if it's like if you hadn't like I'll call you if I need you like now.
All right, cool. I kind of felt bad. I'm like, bro,
no, you're good.
I don't even think this is on purpose, but like
you're
I suck at texting. So hit me up on Instagram. That's the best place to find me. I literally go live on YouTube. I live stream on YouTube every single day. So if you search my name, Daryl Ellison, I haven't gone live yet today. I'm probably go later tonight. But if you search my name, Daryl Ellison, you'll see my.
What are they gonna get there when they see you live? What are they gonna see?
So I'm literally just showing the process, the ins and out of my business, of wholesale deals, and just showing the process of scaling from where I'm at now to 20 deals a month.
Oh yeah.
And it's super raw. Like I have my team in there. Like I share my screen because they're in the Zoom when we make calls, and they hear my team's calls. They hear how I talk to my team, and I don't hold nothing back. Like I'm a, like, you talking about like personality types, like I'm a red, like I'm a driver, right? So I'm like extremely direct, right? So like the people hear how I talk to my team, like I'm not an asshole or anything like that, but it's like
let's get you done. I get it. I'm like that too.
Exactly.
Like, let's get it. What's happening?
Right. So like for instance, like one of my guys today, he's like he did something wrong on the call, and I'm like, he could have done this better, and he's like, okay, I got it. He's like, no big deal. Like I'll figure it out. I'm like, no, it is a big deal. Like, like, no, you need to figure this out now. Like,
that's hilarious.
Right. So like I'm extremely direct. And so like my people see that how I talk to my team, how I interact with my team. It's always good vibes, and we just work and we just make work fun. Like last night, I'm probably on there for 2 hours, and I bring other people on as well. So like I'll bring Marlon Johnson on. Kevin Cho was with me yesterday. We were underwriting some deals on the whiteboard.
Nice.
So it's a lot. It's really educational. Like I get a lot of people to hit me up, and they thank me for like just posting stuff on there and just going live, because they learn a lot, and that really motivates me to keep going. So every single day I'm live streaming on YouTube and Instagram. So
I love it. All right, bro. I'm gonna wrap it up. Skorch the Fears episode. I'm pretty goddamn sure it's 32. I'm forgotten now, dude. I've done a lot of episodes, but we freaking killed it. That was amazing. I appreciate you, my man. That was pretty sick. I'm gonna wrap it up, guys. If you're in sub 2 tomorrow, Friday, 3 p.m., I'm gonna go into this whole thing about like whether you should be doing agent outreach, like this whole course. It's gonna be sick. If not, Just come through here next week, 5 p.m. PST. I'm bringing on my business coach, Mike Mel. He's also Munif's business coach. He's an incredible dude. I'm going to talk to him about his journey. It's going to be the first person who isn't in real estate. So it'll be cool.
That's awesome.
I'm excited for it. So guys, 5 p.m. PST Thursday next week. Let's go. Daryl, you're amazing. I'm wrapping it up. Woo! We did it again.